Hi, Steve grows pumpkins. Chase for the 2026 GPC Growers Jacket out by the main patch. We're not looking at the main patch today. Just like I promised you last week, we're looking at my side grows and my state fair grows. I did not realize I was not recording. This is the 230 Smiley giant watermelon growing on a piece of mill fabric that I took out of the dumpster. Virginia State Fair. I do have some backup marrows in the house. Probably gonna have to end up replacing that. It looks like it didn't get the tip. Took off that first true leaf. A couple of Jason Loris cantaloupes, and I don't even know anything about growing cantaloupes, but I was like, well, Jason gave them to me, so let's give them a shot. Something nibbled on the main vine growing tip on this one. I do have a backup over there that's a little bit younger than this one. We'll see what happens there. Down here, just for fun, also some heavy cucumbers, and I do not know the weight. The package was just listed heavy cucumbers, so we'll see what we get there. I'm gonna put up a little fence along the side of this here and trellis grow those. And then, for the first time ever, long gourds, and my trellis is going to go right here. If it ever stops raining, I'll get post holes dug and build me a nice 16-foot tall trellis right here. So that is the State Fair patch. Still some work to do in it, still some modifications to make, fence to put up. All right, now we're on the tail end of the main patch. Main patch back here. You see lots of nice weed cover. You know, I told everybody's trying to do the Jim Ford cover crop method this year. I was like, no way, I ain't got time for dealing with cover crop. And instead I deal with weeds that would have covered up everything the cover crop was doing. So maybe next year we will do the cover crop thing. But lots of work to do out here when things dry up. Funny story about bushel gourds is a fella reached out to me over the off season looking for bushel gourd seeds. He'd read the article that was circulated in the New York area about Paul Jarish and I sharing bushel gourd plants for the state fair last year. Reached out to me looking for seeds. I think he was in New Hampshire or Vermont. I don't remember. I said, sure, I got plenty. So I put him a little package together and sent them in. So I had some really good Trombley and Connolly bushel gourds I was saving for myself. And when it came time to germinate seeds, I couldn't find them anywhere. So I'm afraid they might have made a trip up north. Planted a 185.7 Marvin, and not so funny of a story. A couple weekends ago, got a frost threat. Turned out to be a deep freeze. It was like 26 degrees or 24, I think it got down to out here. And I covered up everything we were growing outdoors except for that. I forgot about it and it didn't make it. Luckily for me, I was going through garden seeds, and in my garden seed box was some 196.6 Paul Jarish bushel gourds, and have replaced it right here, there. So a little bit behind on it. You know, I had these things planted. There's where the Marvin was. Has passed away due to the letting it get frozen. Grew my 150 square foot. My first ever 150 square foot fruit was in here a couple years ago. I put another one of the 196 Jarishes way up there. I'll just let them grow to each other, fill in this whole space, and we'll get what we get. Again, just trying to get one of each category for the Virginia State Fair. All right, we are over at what was the boar patch last year. God's name, because cooney boars live right next door to it over there and all that space. Renamed it this year to the creek patch. The creek runs right through there. And renamed it because there's a new boar patch, and the new boar patch is down there. We'll take a look at it here in a second. Got some backup Atlantic giant pumpkins in here. You might remember this patch from last year. I grew a couple of marrows in there. I grew my Virginia State Fair first place bushel gourd in here, and the 150 hula hoop plant sat right here. Not doing 150 this year. I wanted to commit to this whole space to a giant pumpkin, It's roughly 1,126 square feet. It won't get all of that. I've already established some walk zones on the outside of my weed fabric perimeter. And I went with weed fabric in here this year because I got a lot going on in all the patches. Growing 6 landgiants and a green squash. So 7 altogether. And this got really overrun with weeds last year. You can see what I'm already with. This is what I'd be fighting if this wasn't covered. So I decided to help myself out a little bit, cut some time down, and grow this on fabric. I didn't have any issues with using black fabric on this. I know lots of people aren't a fan of that because it generates heat, cooks roots, prevents growth. But this area is really shaded. These trees here, I wanted to cut down some of these trees during the off season. I didn't do it. This coming off season we probably will. Gets a lot of shade, so I felt pretty good about putting the black fabric down on here. The sun peaks through here around 10:30ish in the morning, and it gets full sun about an hour later, all the way till the sun sets over the mountain back there. So it's going to be challenged in that respect, but it's going to be what's going to be. I think the plant won't be able to reach its full potential and the fruit won't, but nonetheless I'm excited to grow it out here anyway. I went with drip over here. I was not planning on doing drip over here, but I did drip after I decided to cover it because I have zero faith at all in this fabric passing water. I know it's supposed to pass water. I don't think it's going to pass water enough. I ran out of black and I put one little piece of white over there. You guys might remember the white from over in the main patch a couple years ago, and I grew a big fluffy pillow and took all of it back up. You get it really tight and it does pretty good. Stuff germinates underneath of it, but it's got nowhere to go. So far so good on that. These plants, no heating cables, no grow tents, no nothing like that. They've been outdoors since they got planted. And I got 2 plants here, and this is a perfect example of why I quit double planting. Because there's bias, right? So this over here is my 1511 I grew last year. The one next door to it is the 2222 Godzilla Travis Ginger. This is the mother plant to that seed, and I'm kind of biased towards the 1511. I want to grow the 1511. The 2222 started off really slow out of the gates. It's starting to pick up the pace now. And again, this is why I quit double planting, because I created a bias to that. And then the other issue with double planting is you've got 2 really good genetic seeds out here, and one of them gets cold. I think that's just a waste of a seed. So I did not double plant anything in the main patch this year. I did double plant here and way over there. And really the only reason I did, because I had these started for backups for main patch plants. And main patch plants started to look decent and earn their spot in the main patch. So these both came out here. Again, I want to grow out the 1511. And the 2222 was really slow coming out the gates, but it's starting to make a main vine now. And this is what commitment looks like, folks. Alright, I have committed to one plant right here on YouTube. It's time to start cutting some holes and getting this thing laid down. It's going to run right down through here, hopefully way down there at the end somewhere, and set of fruit down in there somewhere around where the 150 was last year. Again, it's going to be challenged for shade. It's going to be challenged for sun because of the shade. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to reach its full potential, but we'll see what it does. I'm excited about what the fruit's going to look like. It was this seed was the 22 Ginger pollinated with a 2144 and a half rotoball, and 2144 and a half rotoball, beautiful orange fruit. Mine was 15% heavy. I think his 2144 was like 23% heavy. 2222 was a nice OTT fruit. So hopefully I get a nice OTT, percent heavy, beautiful orange. All right, the new boar patch. Right in the heart of the boar pasture, fenced off so they can't access it. I grew some J.O.E. field pumpkins in here last year. Didn't do great. I didn't take care of them very well. Amended with the same amendments from the main patch. Some perlite in here also. And I'm not going to go in here today. We'll get a look from the outside. Each of these plants has right at 1,000 square feet. And we'll start off with these two. These two are getting backup plants for the main patch. I planted them out here. The 2465 Dawson, and next door to it is a Pete Casper's and Alba Casper's plant. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was. It was 21 something. It didn't look great in the pot. It looked like it was going double vine right out the gates in this pot, but kind of not looking like that anymore. It is a little bit behind the 2465 Dawson. Yeah, so they'll get all this space here. Here's my Virginia State Fair green squash, and I've got two 1592 Tobecks right there, and I guess it's the weather. Again, no heating cables out here, no grow tents, no nothing. They just aren't doing squat. Started some backups. This is the 1407 Tobec, and now I'm kind of wishing I'd put it down there and let these grow towards each other. Maybe use one for pollinating and maybe get lucky and get two green squash. But definitely have my bias to the 1407 just because I took better care of it inside the house, planted it out here when it was more ready to be brought outside as opposed to the two 1592s. I do believe in the genetics of the 1592s, so if something happens over the course of the next week or so that changes the way we look like we're going to go right now, then maybe we'll grow 1592, but right now it's definitely going to be the 1407. And again, I really wish I'd put the 1407 down there, and then maybe I could have grown them both, but I definitely can't grow them both right there side by side. So again, Virginia State Fair green squash, trying to get us green squash for the Virginia State Fair. All right, again, these are just backups in case something really goes south in the main patch. I'll have something to try and help me get that jacket. One thing I hadn't even considered or thought about, we took the 150 square foot fruit out of this last year, and I was able to get it through here with no problems with my little tractor. But if we grow something really nice over here, I don't know how I'm going to get it out of here. Hadn't even taken that into consideration. I'm already thinking about things like that, but again, these aren't the priority, so we'll see what happens. So thanks a lot for watching. We'll check out main patch next time, and hopefully we'll be a lot farther along than what I am right now. We'll see you next time.